Hello, Soulies. Happy Monday. It's Sunday here. It's raining outside. It's not raining in this moment. I need to paint the pretty picture for you because that's the way my brain works. We're going to talk about that today. But before we do, I'm in a Noah Khan hole at the moment. We know I love him. Do you guys know I love him? Have we spoken about this? Noah Khan's up there with Taylor Swift for me. Like my Spotify, who's my favorite, it interchanges. One year it's Taylor Swift, one year it's Noah Khan. This year, I suspect it will be Noah Khan because his new album comes out in April. Anyway, the reason he's in my head right now is obviously he released The Great Divide a couple of weeks ago. So that's the song in my head right now. But my algorithm gave me the goods today. And he apparently shared, well, he did because I've seen it in my algorithm as of today. But like 10 weeks ago, he went live and played a different song that's not yet been released. It's called Staying Still. You can't find it online. It's just on his Instagram. And it showed up. That was me playing guitar if you're watching YouTube. It was on his Instagram. So yeah, that was just like my little Noah Khan treat today. The reason that I love him so much is his lyrics. He's a Libra moon as well. And I knew it when I heard his album Stick Season for the first time. I was like, oh my God, his lyrics are poetry. Kind of like Hosier as well. Is that how you pronounce his name? Hosier? Hosier. Hosier. Take me to church. Anyway, that's not his best song. They're poets, right? Same with Taylor Swift. And that's something that I am it's just, well, can we call it a special interest? I think we can. So today, guys, I'm going to talk out this recent diagnosis I have received, which is that yes, I am an autistic woman. I'm a high functioning, high masking, level one autistic woman. They are all technical terms. I will break them down for you. But I really just encourage each of you as listeners to go into this episode with an open mind. This is something that's very vulnerable for me to speak about. This is something that I know will be perceived by some people as, another label. Oh, here she goes again. Here's the next thing. And I'm really offering, this is actually a vulnerable conversation for me, is what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to put words to. Initially, when I received the diagnosis on Thursday, which can I also say has been about 2.5 years coming, this isn't something that I just jumped on out of nowhere. I've been sitting with it for many years now. And when I did receive the diagnosis it was Thursday, yep. And I spoke it out with a couple of my closest people. And I said, look, I'll do a podcast episode on it just so it covers everything off. And then I don't really want to speak to it again because I don't want to make this my brand or I'm not here to create neurodivergent content. I'm still figuring out what this means for me, to be honest. Like, even though I've lived with this, it is a disability. It feels weird to even say that, but even though I have lived with this and functioned with it for 36 years, it's going to take me a long time to actually wrap my head around what this new level and layer of understanding of myself means. Kind of like when you get your natal chart read for the first time and you realize you're not just your sun sign, you're all the other things around behind the scenes, and you've been that the whole time, but you're able to put words and image and language to it. That's me now, and it's only a few days into it. So I'm probably going to have more questions than answers. And this is more my experience of being someone recently diagnosed. And as I was saying, I initially said to some of my friends, I don't think I'll do it this week's episode of Soul Talk. Like it'll be a few months from now. And it's like, okay, Holly, because if you know me, you know literally all I can focus on now, it's my hyperfixation, which is another term I'm realizing. This is all how I've always been, but there's reason behind it. Anyway, if I came on and I didn't talk about this diagnosis, I would literally have nothing to talk about because this has been what's been consuming my days, not just now, but in the lead up to the diagnosis as well. So, what I thought I might do is give you guys all of the context because I know for some of you it's going to be quite maybe out of nowhere. I know I've referenced it a little bit in the subscriber episodes. And if you're in my intimate inner circle, I'm talking like friends. This has been something I've been talking to my friends about for years. I'm not exaggerating, years. So when I say that I know I'm an open book, but I don't share everything all the time, like this is an example of that. This isn't something that is new to me. But I understand that for some of you, it might feel jarring. And do you know what that seeped in? It's seeped in stereotypes and it's steeped in stigma, and not the reality of being someone in my term, like in my experience, which is a high functioning autistic woman. Some facts for you. Let's get my spec on. But 80% of women who are autistic are still undiagnosed by the time they turn 18. It's a really overlooked uh, disability in women, because high functioning women often are the opposite end of the spectrum, literally the spectrum, which is this societal construct of autistic people being a level three, which is a level three autistic person is someone who is nonverbal, is someone who requires significant support. That there are three levels of autistic function. Level three is the one that society has shown us as the only variable. And this is why women in particular go so undiagnosed and think that there's something wrong with them. And they're constantly being told, oh, you've got an anxiety disorder, or you have depression, or, usually this kind of a diagnosis happens after a motherhood transition, which is when I started to question things myself. Because why can't we function like the normal people can? And as I've said in past episodes, I've always felt different, and I've always felt like the weirdo. And now I can confirm in the science that I am different, that my brain is different, that I am the weirdo, but obviously I'm not nonverbal. I am the opposite of that. And that is literally, again, the opposite end of the spectrum. Okay. So I am actually hyperlexic, which is it's basically the opposite of dyslexic. I am hyperlexic, which is an autistic expression that is found in autistic men and women who are the other end of the spectrum, who are very good with language, very good with words, likely learned to read very early on. Now, I didn't know any of this until my diagnosis. So let's just go back a few years when I first started to actually question things, because to be honest, guys, I'm still wrapping my head around what this actually means. And the reason that I went to get diagnosed in the first place, I could have gone my whole life not getting a diagnosis. I'm so glad I did, by the way, and I'll tell you why in a moment. And I would have functioned okay. Like I'm functioning well in society, right? That doesn't mean it's not hard. And this is something that came up in the assessment, which took 3 hours on Thursday morning with my doctor. She's a psychologist. She specializes in not just neurodivergence. So you get screened for ADHD and autism, but she also specializes in traumatic birth, which I just felt such a resonance with her. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought on that, but what I will say is 60% of women with autism also likely have ADHD, which is why they screen for both in the assessments, whether you go for one or the other. I do not have ADHD. And I knew that from the get-go. I don't relate to any ADHD traits. I'm kind of opposite. But what started to kind of pique my curiosity was actually when I was in the theatre producing the Into the Woods show a couple of years ago. And one of the beautiful women in the show shared that she was autistic. And I was confused by it, to be honest. Probably how some of you are feeling about me right now. I was like, oh, but you don't seem autistic. And that I can understand now is because of the societal construct around what we're made to think autism is. And I have a lot to say about that. Found that I'm very passionate about this. But she started to share with me, no, autism in women, I'm high masking. I get really fatigued when I'm around a lot of energy. I have sensory issues, loud noises, smell, like everything she was sharing with me. I was like, I resonate, and I don't want to make her experience about me. So I actually never shared with her, I think I could be. But that was the first experience that kind of planted a seed. And then what started happening is my algorithm listened to me. And I was getting these reels. And this was, again, about 2 years ago. But it was something like, all this time you thought you were psychic and then you realized you were autistic. And I'm like, wait, what? There's a correlation between being psychic and being autistic? I'm like, what is that about? And it's about pattern recognition. It's about actually being able to read people. It's about being able to pick up on subtle energy and your senses, because autism is a sensory disability. I hate using the word disability because I actually think it's a fucking superpower, to be honest. And I like almost, I don't want to cringe or be that person that's like, My autism is my superpower, but it actually legitimately is. And I feel like a lot of you are either if you're listening to a podcast called Soul Talk, if you practice as an energy worker and a psychic, or you're in some sort of energetic space, then naturally, as a byproduct of that, your senses are naturally heightened. So if this intel comes naturally to you, guess what? Your senses are all heightened, right? And we're not just talking the physical senses, but of course that's part of it. But our senses, as in the senses we can't see, our third eye, our channel, of course they're naturally heightened. Of course, that means that we can tap into things that other neurotypical people maybe can't. And so actually it's happened in my assessment, and I'm very aware I'm talking in circles, guys, but please like just entertain me for this episode, because I haven't spoken this out in length just by myself. I haven't projected it, and that's what I'm doing right now. It's only been a few days. But what my doctor said is, she's like, gosh, I would love if I could get all of the women I work with in a room. She's like, because you are all highly intuitive, highly psychic, highly tapped in. And that's when and this has been something that's been in my mind for a few years since I saw that reel of you're not psychic, you're autistic. I'm like, well, you're actually both. I think autistic is actually this label for energetic sensitivity and energetic brilliance. I actually think that the official term autism, I get it. And also, it's synonymous with being an energetically sensitive individual. And that comes not just with the hard stuff, which I'll talk about, but it also comes with the fucking brilliance. It comes with the like hyperlexia. I'll share the definition of that in a moment, but I look at that and I go, yeah, that's why I've been able to write books so quickly. They just move through me. It's because of this so-called disability that I have. And so I did say to her when we were talking it all out in the assessment, and I'll share how that goes in a moment. I said, look, I don't want to be an advocate because I've spoken about this in past episodes. I don't want to be an advocate for anything because advocacy work is so draining, but especially when it comes to something like neurodivergence, because I don't think that's what I'm here to do. I don't think I'm here to make content on neurodivergence. I don't think I'm here to say, I recently got diagnosed with autism. I know I'm saying it now, and this is the only place I'll do it. Like my podcast, even though there's like 300 or 400 of you listening, it feels like a safe space where I can express this. Whereas if I was going to do like quick reels, and that's not my place. At least it isn't now. This is recent. She did share with me that it's probably going to take a year for me to actually fully understand how to tend to my nervous system, because that's the other thing. Neurologically, neurodivergent people have different nervous systems to neuronormative people, right? So our nervous systems are so sensitive to external stimuli that we actually require a different way to handle that. And that is impacted in our entire life. And what this diagnosis has actually allowed me to give myself, which is the whole reason I wanted to be tested, to have it validated, because I can give myself what I need in terms of self-compassion and permission to actually be more of the sensitive being that I am. This is something that she shared with me in the session as well, on reflection of being with me for those 3 hours, was, Holly, you're a little bit enigmatic in that you're so high masking and you're so high functioning that people likely won't see you as autistic because of the way that society wants us to see autism. And I have my theories about that in a second. But also people want, you're magnetic. Like people want your energy. People want that in their space. It makes them feel good. And she's like, for you, this diagnosis allows you to actually have the autism as your door bitch, to be like, this is what can access me and this is what absolutely cannot. And I'm not being apologetic for that. And a big part for me, as I'm obviously looking back on my life, as you know, I've been autistic since I was a child, and the high masking has come from me needing to survive, like it's been a survival imprint, has been these patterns of always feeling like the different one or the odd one out, and then having these friendship breakdowns. And it has really played out in friendship for me. Obviously, I'm just very lucky that I met Trent when I did, and I've only had that one relationship, because I do feel that it would play out romantically. Of course it would, but for me, it's always been friendship, where I've always been able to pick when someone wants something from me, and it's not that they want my friendship. Like they want how I make them feel, or they want whatever being in close proximity to me gives them. It's like a clout thing. I can read it a mile off, and but I override that usually, or I have in the past, because everyone else loves this person or everyone else thinks they're a good person. It's not that they're a bad person. It's that social exchange, what I'm coming to learn between autistic and ADHD people versus neurotypical people is very different. Like neurotypical people, it's like what's in it for me when it comes to a social exchange, and this is why like networking is a thing, whereas I've never understood that. I'm always just like, I'm going to cheer you on, and I feel like I've said this in episodes before where I don't understand the comparison thing, I don't understand the competition thing. Yeah, I literally don't, because my brain does not work that way. But I didn't know that that's a sign of being neurodiverse. I just thought that I was being normal, but that's like abnormal. So this is why I've had a lot of friendship breakdowns in my history. I have my solid friends, and then I also have lots of friends that come and go. They come and they get really, really close to me, and then I almost don't show up the way that they have projected onto me. Like they've expected me to be a certain type of person based on their own perception of me. And then when I don't meet that perception or idea of who I am, it's like they get disappointed and leave. And this has been a theme my entire life. And I've always been confused by it, because I've always assumed that for a friendship or a social dynamic to end, there needs to be conflict or like a big falling out. And I have had some of those where I've finally asserted myself and my boundaries with people, and they've, not liked it. But for the most part, it's just been this weird, like I'm talking even, I'll give you guys a very vulnerable example. I had a really, really, like, she was one of my best friends in high school, and we went through a lot together all through high school. And I felt like I was there for her through a lot of her own personal challenges. And it was more when we left school and started work, and I experienced my first, what I know now is an autistic burnout. And I was working in corporate in the city. You guys know this story if you've read my books. And I couldn't get through the day without taking a nap on the meeting room floor. I look back on that version of me, might I add, and I think, oh my God, public transport, working in the city, like any kind of autistic person's worst nightmare, because of the constant stimulation, the bright lights, the sound, the smells. Like, of course, I burned out. That's given. The autistic burnout is a real thing. And so when that happened, my friendship started to fall away, because I could no longer override my energy to show up for other people. And I remember it was one of the first times I sat in a psychologist's office, and she said to me, because I said to her, I'm always the one checking in on friends. I'm always the one following up. I'm always the one initiating. And this was back when I was about 24. And it was happening to a friend that I was even the bridesmaid at her wedding. Like we were really close. And I was saying to my psychologist that I'd noticed this pattern with this friend, that, they were all still hanging out as a group, but I was starting to get not invited to things. And I felt hurt by that, because didn't they realize I was so unwell? And why wasn't anyone coming to visit me? Why wasn't anyone checking in on me? And why did it always end on me checking in on them? And this is when the psychologist said, well, just take some time and space and don't be the one to initiate, and see who's left. Oh, it's going to make me emotional, because I haven't actually spoken this out. All my high school friends, pretty much bar a couple, fell away. Even one of these closest friends that I never ever thought would. And there was no falling out. There was no conflict. She just kind of stopped answering my messages, and then stopped responding to my happy birthdays that I sent every year. And I had no closure, and I was really confused. And the only thing I could put it down to was she didn't like me anymore. And I don't know why. And anyway, when I was writing Saying Yes to You, I was going through all of these old like memory boxes, and all of these old photos of us together, this friend and me, fell out, and letters we had handwritten each other in high school. And I just got this wave of nostalgia, and without even like thinking things through, I just took a photo, because that's another thing about autism. We're very, very honest. We wear our hearts in our sleeves, right? I took a photo and I DM'd her on Instagram. We don't follow each other. I DM'd her the photo on Instagram, and I said, hey, name, I just came across this and I'm writing a book about my childhood. And I think I thought of you and we navigated a lot together. And I just wanted you to know that I only ever hold fond memories and I just wish the best for you in all of the ways. And she saw it and she didn't even like it. And that's for years ago, guys. And that gave me closure in that I realized, oh, okay, she really doesn't like me. This was like, she was like my sister, but there was no conflict. There was no big falling out. It was just this awful realization, sorry, that when I can't live up to people's expectations of me socially, they don't like me, even people that I trusted with my whole heart. And so I'm looking back on this recent diagnosis and looking at all of these social experiences I've had as recent as last year when I got uninvited from this wedding. And the reason was because I make one of them in the couple feel uncomfortable. That was the reason. And it's actually so great to have this understanding now. Oh, sorry, YouTube people. I wiped the camera and I made it worse. But that was the reason I was uninvited, that whole thing that happened last year. And when this person said I made them uncomfortable, I was so confused. I'm like, what have I done? Like, and actually, of all people, beautiful Emma Mumford, you'll remember, especially if you're a Soul scriber, you will have listened to our subscriber episode where Emma does have autism and she is like the leading manifestation expert in the UK. She's published about 5 books. And when I had the interview with her, you can go and listen to it, subscribe and listen to it, because you hear her say, Holly, do you think maybe you're autistic? And that was like the final thing for me after years of sitting on it and talking it out with my family and friends. Every single one, by the way, that's closest to me saying, yes, Holly, you are, get tested. It'll be so great for you. It'll be so great. It will just give you answers. Anyway, when she said, I think you could be autistic, and then you'll hear in the interview, I ask her questions like, what does a diagnosis give you? She was the final reason why. Anyway, I let her know that I am, because she obviously picked it months ago, and she's been sending me beautiful resources and really helping me understand, there is something that happens when you are recently diagnosed or you're delayed diagnosed, like later in life, where there can be a level of grief that emerges. There can be like an amplification of your symptoms before they kind of level out, because you're unmasking, you're starting to actually honor the parts of you that need to be honored. But one of the things she sent me last night was, I'm actually going to read it to you because it pointed directly to why I was uninvited from this wedding last year. And it is this. Hang on a second, guys. You can see me scrolling. It is, you make people uncomfortable because you name the thing everyone is pretending isn't there, because your brain cannot perform polite when something is wrong and you've been punished for it since childhood. You were never the problem. You were the only one telling the truth. And right now, people everywhere are turning to the woman who can't pretend. She's not too much anymore. She's the one they trust. So it actually really helped me understand that I do make people uncomfortable, because that experience last year, it was when I was taking the carcinosin, you guys will remember, it really threw me because these were friends and I was uninvited from something so big because I made them uncomfortable, but I still couldn't wrap my head around what I did to make them uncomfortable. And now I can see, oh, it's because I'm honest. It's because I cannot be fake. And I'm not going to wrong myself for that. And that is something that is definitely, I think, a superpower, especially in this day and age where I'm not performative, I am not fake, I do not play social politics. I will tell you what I think. Like, if you ask me what I think, I'm going to tell you. And it's not to be rude. I definitely have social decorum, but I will not pretend something isn't there if it's there. And that comes to integrity, and I think this is why I have such a beautiful community around me, where the feedback I get is, I love your energy, I feel safe in your energy. Like, thank you for speaking so honestly, because I genuinely can't do it any other way. And I think it's been a disservice for me in the past because I've tried to be friends with people who actually don't understand my brain is different. And I didn't even know my brain was different. I mean, I knew I was different. I know it's not normal to write books as quick as I do and have them channel through me. I know it's not normal to be a practicing psychic. I know that's not normal. But to have it understood under this term now gives me more self-validation. So if someone comes to me and says, actually, on second thought, we don't want you around anymore, which has happened multiple times in my life, I can go, yeah, cool. I'm not for you because you don't understand my brain and you don't want to. So it's I know I'm crying, but it's just part of the process. Like, it's giving me way more compassion for myself. All my little idiosyncrasies and quirks that you guys will either have always seen, and you're probably also neurodivergent and you've picked it a mile off and you've gone, yep, Holly, welcome. That's, I reckon a lot of you are listening to this podcast, whether you've been diagnosed or not, because you're listening to me and you're engaging with my content. So that would make sense. Secondly, maybe this is all brand new information to you and you're going to start to see these sides of either me or yourself. And I just ask you to not hold judgment and be open-hearted. I mean, if you're listening to this show, you are anyway. But like things like, I do not give eye contact. I don't know if any of you have noticed that. It's why my readings are so great, because I don't have to look at the person. And I literally say this at the beginning of every reading. I say, you're going to see me look off to the side, close my eyes, do things with my hands. Did I realize right then that that was actually me tapping into my autistic brilliance, which is, I am sensory overloaded. I actually can't look at you right now because I see too much, right? Like, this is where I'm joining all of these dots and going, oh my God, my mind is blown. And I'll tell you what, I think that there is a very real reason that they are only, and by they, I mean the powers that be, they are only showing autism in one way, and that is in the level 3, needs severe, like severe autism, needs help, nonverbal, like needs permanent care. And that's the box we put autistic people in. And I think it's a societal construct to completely undermine the superpowers that this neurodivergence can give us, which is heightened sensory input. And heightened sensory input and extra energetic sensitivity equals, firstly, you cannot be conditioned. You cannot be conditioned by a government, by any powers that be. Like neurodiverse people literally cannot be conditioned. Our brains aren't wired that way. So that's the first thing. We're a threat. Secondly, I'm telling you this, and I said this to Emma, and I also said it to my doctor. I said, were all of the witches that were burned, were they all autistic women? And obviously we can't, or maybe someone has done the research on this. I haven't rabbit holed it enough yet, but I would assume the answer is yes, because we're the different ones, we're the weirdos, and we're the ones that are so heightened in our sensitivities, and our senses are so heightened, which is what becomes overstimulation. I'll talk about that in a moment. That of course the witches are the autistics. Of course, they're synonymous. And so when I look at autism, for me, the diagnosis isn't me. As I said, I don't consider myself disabled. I consider this my greatest gift. It's why I can do the work I do in the world. It's why I've got this podcast. It's why I can write these books so quickly. Like, also, Emma's actually shared a video. I'll put in the link. I haven't watched it yet, but she has a video on YouTube she's linked me, which is why ADHD and autistic people are the best manifestors. There's something about the way our brain's wired. So you can imagine my algorithm is inundated with this diagnosis being a superpower. And the biggest thing for me to start to implement, and I'll get my report in the next week or so. So once you get diagnosed, you get a report, and it's like about 10 pages on your brain. And as you guys know, autism is a spectrum. And please don't say, oh, everyone's got a bit of autism, because that's not true. It's just not it. But it depends on where on the spectrum you fall. And so when you get diagnosed, you go through every single sense, as in the 5 senses. You go through touch, sound, light, like all of them, smell. And then what they do is place you on which spectrum, like which of your senses are more sensitive, and then which ones are kind of okay. Like an example for me, you may see the stereotypical cliche of or autistic people just like plain food. That is not me. As you guys know, I am as foodie as they come. And this is where I was even confused because in the testing, I was like, no, but this is why I don't think I'm autistic because my food, my palate is so sensitive to good food. Like I love taste, I love flavor, I can balance any meal. And she's like, Holly, you're on the other end of the spectrum. What we're seeing is such a disservice to neurodiverse minds where we're saying this is the one way it looks, especially for women. And there's been not enough studies on and research on women and autism because guess what? There's no money in it, right? So they're just like 80% of us are going through life undiagnosed in adulthood. 60% of us have ADHD and autism. A majority of us are being told, well, you don't look autistic and you don't seem autistic and you fit into society pretty well. Yeah, based on the one-dimensional box that we understand is autism. It is nuanced and flavored, and every single part of it is a spectrum. And so for me, while my taste is heightened, I know how to construct a really, really yummy meal. Yummy, lol. And also I will be able to tell, and this is actually something that I realized, oh, this isn't okay because autistic people just say what they think. Like if Trent's made me a meal and it's not his best, I'll literally eat it and go, yeah, not your best. But I'm not saying it to be rude. Like it's taken him ages to be like, Holly, like it actually feels kind of mean when you say that. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't mean that at all. Like I'm just saying like it's good, but it's not great. Like it's all of these kind of social constructs that I'm outside of the box on. And while taste is not it for me, my things, and as I said, I'm yet to get the report, but I know in terms of what we spoke out, sound, layered sound, and smell, which is so funny because when I wrote Saying Yes to You, I didn't know I was neurodivergent, but a lot of the nervous system regulation practices in there aren't just neurotypical, they're also neurodiverse. I didn't know. I do a whole thing on smell. I do a whole thing on music. They are neurodiverse ways to regulate your nervous system that absolutely also work for neurotypical people. But smell in particular for me is, and I say it in the book, I have a heightened sense of smell. Yeah, because I'm on the spectrum. Anyway, you can see how it's just this like it's a melding tapestry for me right now that I'm still weaving. And as my doctor said, she said it's going to take you a year to kind of wrap your head around all of the ways this has shown up in your life. And for me now is speaking this out now because it's my life, and that's what this show is about, sharing what I'm moving through. And this is the biggest thing that I'm moving through in my life right now. I am so glad I was tested also because there is a high correlation between neurodiversity and postpartum depression. And should I have another baby, I am so glad I can go into that now, letting anyone who's working with me know that I have level 1 autism. And so my senses are extra sensitive and I can give them my report. So the report that's sent through is not just for me, but it's for any practitioner that I work with in any way, shape, or form so they understand these are the things that kind of set me off and create stress and anxiety and overwhelm in my days. And these are the things that don't. And I'm excited to see that report because it's not just the 5 senses, it's also this piece around hyperlexia. So I'm going to read you guys the description of hyperlexia now. Give me a second. Where is it? Oh my gosh, I screenshot so much in my days. Oh my God, where is it? Sorry, guys, this is so annoying to listen to. Here it is. So, what you're describing on the language end of the spectrum is usually referred to as hyperlexia. And this is what I was told I have. Hyperlexia is a profile often seen in autistic people where there is advanced reading ability very early on, intense fascination with letters, words, and language patterns, hence my obsession with lyrics, strong decoding skills, sophisticated vocabulary, sometimes a deep love of metaphor, etymology, symbolism, and linguistic nuance. It's essentially the opposite of the old stereotype that autistic people struggle with language. Some do, but others are profoundly language oriented. Guys, my first word was book. I started reading when I was 3, right? I've always known that reading and language and writing and speaking, they're my gifts. but I didn't realize I had hyperlexia. And that is an autistic condition. Okay. Now, I think the real reason that female and women autistic people are infantilized and created like in one kind of one dimensional energy or type, or like this is who you are, is because when we actually tap into the power of what this gives us, we are a threat to the system. And can you actually get, for me personally, more Aquarius North Node in the eighth house than figuring out, realizing, oh, I'm an autistic woman, and I'm also a psychic, and I'm also fucking taking up space, and I'm so unapologetic, and get out of my way. Because I know that while I'm not here to do active advocacy or create content that's around being neurodivergent, I'm here to be the example, the embodied example. I'm here to take up space. I'm here to be like, yeah, I am heightened in my senses. And I'm also really fucking smart. And I can see through the BS, even if the collective can't. Even if, and this isn't just collective BS, which I know we're all waking up to, like, yay for all of us. This is such an exciting time. But also interpersonal relationships that I have always not struggled with, but felt different and gone, but I can see that in that person, and why can't anyone else see it? And then the truth comes to light years later. That's been a constant in my life. And now it feels like once I get that little initial, oh, this doesn't feel right, trusting it straight away. This has also been an opportunity for me to really take a step back from socializing, which I've said this many a time. It drains me, like after the spell event, and it's part of my work and I love to do it. That's the thing. I love doing these things, but I also know it will completely deplete me. Doesn't matter if I'm ovulating, doesn't matter if I'm on my bleed. I will be down and out for 12 to 24 hours. That is literally how my brain is wired. It needs silence, quiet time to recharge. So this is so good for me to also understand that when I do have, like the week I had last week, back-to-back things, lots of people, lots of noise, I need to be able to carve out the space on either side to come back into my body, back into myself. So it's almost like what I'm already doing, but amplified, right? So yeah, this hyperlexia piece is like, hang on a second. Like you guys know that Einstein was autistic, right? Like, I think because for women, it's so underdiagnosed, there would be a lot of creatives and artists and writers that would be, but they likely will never be diagnosed. And that's fine, because I know that a thing that I'm going to get is, and I'm aware of this, I'm very, very aware of how this is going to be perceived. And people will be like, oh, it's just another label. Oh, here Holly goes again. Like the person who uninvited me from their wedding said, you know, it's always the Holly show. Like, it's fucking hectic, the shit I've copped, right? But for me, is like, I am doing this for me first. I am sharing my lived experience because that's literally what this podcast is. And then I'm going to go and do it behind the scenes. I don't need to have 1,000 friends. I don't need to even have like 20 friends. Like less is more. I do think my neurotypical friends do not know, and how's me labeling people like this? My neurotypical friends, my friends that don't have autism, and I do have like close friends of mine who are like, we suspect we're also autistic. I'm like, you absolutely are, because I don't have these weird social dynamics with you. Anyway, they're going to go on their own journey. But my friends that I know like aren't autistic or just are in denial that I am, I don't know that they know how to handle this diagnosis, because I've shared it with a few and some have replied and some are like absent. And it's fine, because I know like it's I think a lot of people are like, oh, here we go, here Holly goes again. It's another label, it's another thing. Oh, she's chronic illness girly, she's CPSD. Can I also say high correlation between autistic people and chronic conditions and trauma? The reason being, because this is also what I said to my doctor. I'm like, how do you know that so many of these symptoms aren't just me in a trauma response? She's like, no, Holly, you're in an autistic trauma response. And autistic people are moths, are flames to the moths that are narcissists. And I have had this thread with narcissistic abuse, as you guys know, my entire life. And it's because being an autistic person, narcissists, firstly, we can see them and we can call it out, but if we don't feel safe to, it ends up in an abuse cycle, right? So it's not a causation, it's a correlation. Trauma plus autism. It's like autistic trauma. And this is what I'm learning about too. So there's a lot in it. The other thing I think I'm going to get is I'm jumping on a trend, which, as I said, no, I think it's actually brilliant that we have all these self-diagnostic tools available. And that, if social media wasn't around, I probably would have gone undiagnosed my entire life, reached perimenopause, and absolutely, because I've heard that it can become diabolical in undiagnosed women if you get to menopause and you haven't been diagnosed and you don't know how to regulate an autistic nervous system, and you can have massive breakdowns. And so I'm so glad I've done it now. And also, especially before I have a second child, because I know the correlation now between neurodivergence and postpartum depression. So I can set myself up for the best outcome, right? I I always think it's firstly better the devil you know. Is that saying fits here, right? Doesn't it? But like knowledge is power. The more I know about myself, the more I can tend to myself, the more I can advocate for myself. This for me is another category like human design, astrology. I want to know the most I can about why I am the way I am so I can get the most out of my life. And I want to be that example for my little girl. So I want my little girl to grow up knowing that she has a neurodivergent mother. She has a neurodivergent grandmother because my mum, and mum will be fine with me saying this, my mum is 100% AUHD, AUHDH. ADHD, AUDHD. It's the autistic and ADHD combo. That's my mum to a T. I definitely got this from my grandfather, by the way, the one that came through David the Medium, the cancer surgeon, like clearly you can see. It's come through that genetic imprint. And yes, it is genetic. And for me, I want my little girl to see that there's no shame in saying her mum's got autism and she's living an incredible life, best life. Like, I love my life. I'm very grateful for my life. But now I get to be extra discerning with who gets access to my energy and me because I know now. And as my doctor said, she's like, Holly, I think I already said this, but just to repeat it because Leo, she's like, you're enigmatic and you're magnetic and people want that from you, right? So now I get to be way more discerning. And I thought I was, but I get to be even more so as like, if I get a whiff of someone wanting to be close to me just because they want something from me, it's a hard no. And I actually am going to be less apologetic in having stronger boundaries around who gets access to me and in what ways, because the opposite end of that is that I let everyone have a piece of me and then there's nothing left. And then I burn out and then I spiral. And so the cycle continues. So, my loves, that is me. Where to from here? Well, I'm going to wait to receive the report in the next week or so. I'm going to go through that because there are going to be strategies in that report that I've never thought of before. Scent is one of my highest uh, triggers. So when it's bad smell, and this is why the gym actually, I didn't realize until I had my assessment, it makes me really uncomfortable because scent and sound, how gym has that really sterile smell, and then sound is like they're always playing house music and people are grunting. This is why I haven't been able to put myself in a gym since I joined it. I'm not meant to be training that way, or I can, but I can have noise canceling headphones and wear an oil that I can smell as I train, right? But anyway, I know a strategy she's going to give me is scent for oxytocin. So when I do my big trip at the end of the year, which is going to be sensory overload for me, knowing what I know now, I can take certain smells that regulate me. And this is about like me starting to create these pattern breaks in my day. Another thing that autistic people struggle with, myself included, is transition. So I come in here and I do my podcast and then I go out there and my little girl wants me in mum mode. It takes me a minute to get from work mode, this is what we call it in our house, work mode, to mum mode. Like when mum's in work mode, I'm not in mum mode. I actually can't be mum in work mode. This is why I don't work in front of my little girl, because I actually can't be her mother or the mother that I want to be when I am in this mode. My brain can't do it. And so she's going to give me transition tips to go from work mode to mum mode to back into work mode because I'm constantly doing that. And that is actually really taxing on my nervous system. But I'm going to go through that report. I'm going to read through all of these strategies. She's also going to put together strategies for Trent. And this is what Trent said. Trent's been in full support of me getting tested, by the way, guys, for years. He has witnessed me struggle behind the scenes. And you guys have never seen my autistic meltdowns, which I have. You haven't seen me shut down. They're called autistic shutdowns, but it happens regularly. And so he has been the one that has had to bear the brunt of that, especially since motherhood. And so now he's going to have his own strategy of when Holly's in a shutdown. So just so you guys know, when I'm absolutely tanked and overstimulated, and that's especially sound and smell and touch, I just need to go away I need everyone to not look at me, touch me, or talk to me. I need to lie in bed for hours. And that's a shutdown. Like I actually can't think or function. And my friends always say that. Cass only said this to me recently. I'd had a hard week. And she's like, you just disappeared. Like, where did you go? You know, I'm here for you. And I'm like, I know that, but I get into these shutdowns where it's not that don't want to burden anyone. It's more that I can't function. And so what she's going to create is things for Trent, like a checklist to be like, when Holly is in a shutdown, this is what you can do for her. Or when Holly is in a meltdown, this is what she needs. And so it's going to actually help us as a family unit for me to regulate and be able to know, okay, when I'm feeling like this, I actually need a weighted blanket and I need some hard pressure on my back. Like all of these things are me understanding myself more and what I need. So I'm looking forward to getting to know these versions of myself. I'm not going to put that I'm neurodivergent in my bio. I'm not going to do reels on this. This doesn't feel like something that I really need to speak about more than speaking on this podcast. So I really appreciate you all being a safe space for me to share really vulnerably. It's only been a few days. So I'm sure there'll be waves and I'll continue to share as they come or roll over. I do think it's part of the homeopathic, actually. I do think it's part of me taking phosphorus because, oh, have I told you guys that that's my constitutional remedy? You know now, that's fine. So part of this remedy is about taking up space and owning your light and your brilliance. And dare I say that this is part of that. And I actually had never fully entertained the thought of actually getting tested because I hadn't found someone to do the testing for me until I started taking this remedy. So I do think it's all part and parcel of me in full embodiment of who I'm here to be in the world and the work I'm here to do in the world. And I definitely, I want to talk about special interests, right? This is the thing. They also give us really juvenile language to describe autistic behavior. So you're going to hear, what's your special interest? And I fucking hate that term only because it feels juvenile. Like it feels like, especially autistic women or all autistic people, it's like you're put in this box of, again, I say it, you're being infantilized. And it's like, you are little and small and silly. And what is your special interest? It's like, no, the special interests are when autistic people get on one about a topic that they really fucking care about. We're very passionate people, right? And so for me, those topics look like, firstly, reading books, writing literature. That's always been since I was little. Obviously, theatre is another one. These are the things where I can just info dump. And what I love is Soul Talk is basically me info dumping, which is another autistic term. We love to info dump on the things we know. And this is what Soul Talk is and why it's so good for me, because my biggest special interest is spirituality. Surprise. And you know what? I feel like it's working in my favor. And this is why I'm privileged in the position I'm in, because one of my biggest special interests is having a moment in the zeitgeist now. So if my special interest was trains, that would be different. And that I'm not saying that as a stereotype. That is a common autistic special interest in men, right? For me, it's spirituality and it's writing and it's literature and it's like all the things that are kind of cool right now. So it kind of just works in my favor a little bit as well. I think the way that I look as well, which it can go both ways, because it's like, well, you don't look autistic. It's like, what does that even mean? So it's a double-edged sword for me that I'm still grappling with. And there was another point I wanted to make on that. Special interest. Oh, pebbling. Pebbling. Do we know what pebbling is? It's when autistic people give a little gift like a pebble. Guys, have you seen my Instagram? It was like 3 months ago. I was on that pebbly beach and I picked all the nice rocks up. And then I was like playing Taylor Swift in the background. Like, tell me you're specky without telling me. Like, I've been doing this stuff my whole life, right? And I guess I'm here to be an example in this, just speaking it out with you all, that I'm like, I'm not, I'm not just me, but like autistic people in general, like give us a little bit more credit, like give us a little bit more appreciation for the brilliance of our minds and not the stereotype that society wants you to like only think is autistic. Like it's a full spectrum. It's not just level 3, right? And I'm still figuring it out as I go. Let me know if this episode is even interesting to you. Let me know if you want me to talk more about this. Let me know if you don't. I'm going to go and decompress for the afternoon, knowing without the guilt that this is what I need. This is what my brain needs. This is what my body needs. And I'm going to go do it. Oh, do you know what I'm loving? I just started it yesterday. Tell Me Lies. I've seen everyone talk about it, season 3, and I'm like, okay, I need to start. So I'm mid season 1. I'm episode 6. I'm loving it. So I'm going to go watch some of that. I'm going to go just be my specky self. Is it offensive? I don't think it's offensive me saying that. If it is, and you are neurodivergent and you're getting offended with me saying specky, please let me know because I'm new here. I'm still figuring it out as I go, but I'm all ears. All right, love you guys. I'll be back in your ears on Wednesday.